When they set their goal at 96%, the old Amtrak agreement was that the railroad could earn an incentive at 85% or higher. Well, when we decided that we wanted to change the incentive payment, we said that bar is not good enough. It's got to be a minimum of 92%. And the way our incentive works with Union Pacific, Amtrak still measures it, still calculates it on the same criteria. The difference is that it is not intermixed with all the other services that run on Union Pacific. It's a standalone calculation for the Capital Corridor. When these guys get to 96%, they can earn about $2.5 million in incentive money for us, and it's the check we love to write because it means the service is working. What Union Pacific measures everything in terms of train performance, but they get forgiveness for things that they do not control, like when the drawbridge goes up and a train is delayed, when there's a mechanical problem, and you know, of all the good relationship we have with Amtrak and the operational side of the business, I have never been happier in any of my jobs. Mechanical we're still working on, it's a struggle. If we could get the mechanical performance at Amtrak to deliver that service more reliably, that number that was 92% could easily be 95 or 96%. So that's our biggest challenge at the moment is mechanical performance. And it's an ongoing challenge. It isn't unique to us. It's a nationwide issue. Part of it has to do with the level of recapitalization for additional equipment. But in our case, the state bought all this stuff. It's new, it's been overhauled, it's maintained. It's a question of what I review it as a management challenge for Amtrak to get their act together. In addition to the minimum fees that we pay to Amtrak to pay to Union Pacific for access, and that's a little over $2 million a year, we've been putting in $1 million in capitalized maintenance to assist in keeping the plant in good condition. We've also funded a dedicated maintenance away gang that costs about $600,000 a year. Now let me tell you what this puppy has done. When we first put it on, we wanted to keep the slow orders off. Well, we started during the daytime, and of course that's the busy time when most of the trains are running, and we were getting minimal track time, maybe 2, 3, 4 hours during the day because of all the freight and passenger traffic on the line. So we went to Union Pacific and said, you know, do you think we could work at night? And they said, well, you know, we got union agreements, etc. He said, but well, let us go talk to the union. So they went down, they talked to the maintenance away guys. They said, you pay us $1 more an hour, we'll work after 6:30 at night. Done! So now the crews go out at 6:30 at night, and with the lesser frequency of both passenger and freight trains, they get from 6 to 8 hours of productive time a night. We have in that 170-mile Capital Corridor route, 282 track miles, not one single slow order. None. So when you have that condition and you have any delays, again, you can recover if you don't have to deal with slow orders. In addition, the track is maintained at Class 5 conditions. If we had the signals, we could do 90, but the fact is that when you are maintaining the Class 5 conditions, and even if you're only running at Class 4, 79 miles an hour, you got a railroad that is in very, very good condition. We just had an FRA car go up, and you know what those things can do to a railroad. They can pound slow orders all over the place. Nothing. Zero. No impact at all. There were some minor freight issues that were affected, some freight crossovers, etc. But for the passenger steady flow of capital funds, the voters have approved lots of money, Prop A and Prop 1B. The Intercity Rail Program has a $400 million element and another $190 million element as part of the high-speed rail bond package, but we do not have access to 1 penny of it because it is all tied up in the Department of Finance due to the state's budget crisis. When you sell bonds, the bond interest goes on to the debt service, which is the bond interest, goes on as an operating expense of the state budget, and you know what kind of shape the state budget is in right now. The ironic part of it is, though, that we need rolling stock desperately. There is a specified amount, a minimum of $125 million to new rolling stock purchase. If the state allowed Caltrans to go ahead with that purchase tomorrow, you wouldn't have to float a bond for at least a year, maybe 2 years, because you don't need the money until you award a contract. But the state procurement process is such that you can't even put it out for tender until you have approval of the funding. It's an insane situation because it's going to take us 4 to 5 years to get the additional rolling stock delivered. That's just how long it takes to go through the procurement and the building process. In 4 to 5 years, if we don't have more rolling stock, we will have artificially constrained and maybe choked off some of the 3 intercity services that we have made such a success in this state because of the ongoing component of capital funding. I have said to the state consistently, I'll live with your fixed operating budget. I don't have a problem with that, but I've got to get the capital in order to be able to do it. And the capital in this particular case is that capacity to increase the number of riders that we have out there. We need to prepare, and Rod alluded to this, to become that feeder distributor for the high-speed rail system. Like it or not, the day high-speed rail opens up, in our case to San Jose, people are going to come to the Capital Corridor who are going to want access. We've got to be prepared with frequency and with capacity to be able to handle these people. It's a market that we don't have today. It's a market that we won't have until high-speed rail opens. But it will be a market that will show up in a 24-hour period compared to the day before, the minute high-speed rail opens up. So we need to be certain that the state's funding and the federal funds that can come to the state include these kinds of investments for the Capital Corridor, for the San Joaquin route, and for the Pacific Surface. Specifies that all states must be on an equal formula basis for funding the Amtrak contracts. In our case, we are the only state that has basically purchased all of the rolling stock, in the case of Northern California, for its service. Plus, we provide all the capital funds. Amtrak charges other states for services, but provides the rolling stock and has some lease cost that's included in it. And other states will be asked to participate in capital funding. But there's no adjustment allowed in the PREA for all of this capital investment, this $2 billion we put in. I view it as an unfair formula on Amtrak's case, and it may give good cause for the state to begin to think about other people to operate the services. Even if it's integrated with a national reservation system or ticketing system, Amtrak could find itself in a position of pricing itself out of the California marketplace. And that is something that is high on the radar screen to watch.